Hi everyone, I'm Ken and I've gone caravanning. In today's video we wanted to bring you the results of our tests on the Itechworld 120X PRO Lithium Battery. As you guys know, we fitted this battery about 6 weeks ago. We said we'd bring you the results, the tests. We've done a couple of tests at home, then we went away for a week, and then we've been back home a couple of weeks and we did another test again a few days after we got home. So today we're just going to go through those numbers and let you know how that all went. Now, as you guys might remember, we have the BM Pro Battery Plus 35.2. Now, this battery management system says it's not compatible with lithium batteries. But when you look at the charging algorithms and that, and Itechworld themselves have said that this battery can be just dropped straight into our system with no problems. So I just wanted to touch on that just before we get started. I will say in the user guide of the Itechworld 120X Pro manual, it does say the rates here that it needs to be charged at, and the bulk is 14.4, floating 14.4, 13.5, sorry. So just on that, in the our battery management system, you'll find that for the lead acid batteries, it is actually 14.4. So the only difference between the Battery Plus 35-2 and the HA that I can see at the moment is one charges on power at 20 amps and the HA charges at 30 amps. So just thought I would mention that. So when we put the last video out, we got some comments, and one of those comments was from Life. And I just wanted to address this before we get into the numbers and that. Now, Life sent me a thing and said, did the shunt need to be waterproofed? So it wasn't in the little manual we got. I couldn't find it in there anyway. So I sent Itechworld a message off, and it came back that yes, that needed to be waterproofed and being outside under the thing there. So since then we have put it in a waterproof electric box. So we'll put a couple of pictures of that up on the wall here, and just so you know what we've done there. So yeah, thank you very much, Leif. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad it's been done. So, and we might avoid a few problems down the track. Alrighty, let's just get into some numbers, I think. So the first test we did was on the 17th of the 2nd. So that's 3 days after we fitted the battery. And what I did is I just came out in the morning, 6:40, and I turned a whole stack of lights on in the caravan, and we've left them running all day. Now, I have taken some shots of this on the Trek screen and the ITECH monitor screen, so hopefully I'll be able to just put some corresponding shots of those up on the screen here, just to verify that these figures are right. So yeah, so at 6:40 in the morning on the first day we tested, we came on. We'd had it charging on 240 volt overnight, so we came in. At that point the batteries had 13.6 and were floating, and we turned that switch off. It was showing 99% in the ITECH monitor and 119 amp hours. So we turned the switch off. 5 minutes later, 6:45, we started to do our tests. So the first thing we did was when we hit, so the volts 13.3, straight away with all the lights running, they went to 13.3 on the ITECH and the Trek screens, and 99%, 119 amp hours. And we were using 6.9 amps on the Trek screen, 7.1 on the ITECH screen. So a little bit of discrepancy there, and that could be that I know that my diesel heater is not running through the battery management system on the Trek, but it is running through the shunt. So there's one little difference for a start. I don't think it would use very much, but there's a little. So if I wanted it all to go through there, those terminals, those need to go through the battery management system. Yeah, to make it go through both monitors. Now, just on that, we did set the Trek to 120 amp hours, and so we had hours remaining showing on the ITECH screen at 16.5, and on the Trek screen we only had 13 hours. So the ITECH screen was showing nearly 4 hours more than the Trek screen at that point in time. So I'm not going to go through all these numbers. What I'll do is just pick out random ones down the line a little bit, and we'll just see how, give you a bit of an idea. So we might do 2 or 3 out of the whole day. So, okay, after 6 hours, 12:45, 6 hours. So the charge has been off all day now, not to be turned back on. We did it with the multimeter as well. The multimeter was showing 13.17. The Trek was showing 13. The ITECH monitor was showing 13.1 volts. We had 64% and 78 amp hours left. The amps using now on the Trek was down to 6.8. It had just dropped a little bit, and 6.87 on the Itechworld. It's now showing, and the watts of 90. It's now showing 11 hours and 15 minutes left on the ITECH screen, and 7 on the Trek screen. So there's still that discrepancy is there between the Trek screen and the ITECH screen. Alright, just going down a little bit further, we'll pick a random number. Let's just say after 14 hours. After 14 hours, 8:45 at night, the multimeter was showing 12.97, the Trek showing 12.8, the ITECH 12.9. We're down to 19%, 23.8 hours left. The amps have still dropped a little bit more, down to 6.5, and on the Trek, and 6.66 on the ITECH, 86 watts. ITECH hours remaining, 3.34. Now, on the Trek, I'd now changed that to try and bring them a little bit closer. And when I changed it during that mid-change, it buggered it up a bit. So it was running about 3 or 4 hours less than the ITECH. The Trek was showing less than the ITECH. But so for the rest of this day, we really didn't have accurate Trek figures. So I'll bring those changes to you a bit later. We did do some tests on what brought them a little bit closer together. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. Alright, so then we come down to 11:45 at night now. We've done 17 hours. The multimeter is still showing 12.73. The Trek showing 12.6. The ITECH 12.7. The percentage now is down to 3. And we have 39 minutes left. So at that point, I was getting a bit worried. I didn't know... I'd never had the batteries shut off before, so I was a bit worried about that. So what we did is we just came and did it a half hour later. So at half hour later at 12:15, we've now been running 17.5 hours. The multimeter showing 12.69. The volts on the Trek 12.6. On the ITECH 12.6. We have 0% left. We have 1.03 amp hours left. The Trek amps is still 6.20, the ITECH 6.39, we're using 81 watts, and the hours remaining is 0.09. So at that point, I'd been monitoring these. I put these in about an hour, half hour before, and I knew we were getting pretty close to our amp hours. So at that point, I actually did shut it off and put the power back on. So, turn the power back on to charge. At that point, it showed me, I've now turned it on, and it's now charging at 19 amps on the Trek, 19.2, 249 watts, 6 hours and 6.07 charge time. So, yeah. I came back in the morning, and everything was fully charged and it had gone into float. Now the amp hours, the results of that test. So after 7.5 hours, the Trek was showing we used 116 amp hours, and the ITECH was showing we used 118.06. But we shut those batteries down. We shut that down, or turned the charger on, when the ITECH and the Trek were both showing we still had 12.6 volts. And the cutoff is 10.5 or somewhere down that line. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's a fair way off that. So, but yeah. So with those amps using, what we did is each hour I wrote those amps down. We didn't use the top hour, so we were using the number at the bottom of the hour just to make it so that this was accurate. So for that test, the ITECH was showing we used 118.06 and the Trek was saying we used 116 amp hours. So I was pretty happy with that. I thought, well, that's pretty close and that's pretty good, and we've been running 17 and a half hours at between 6.97 amps and 6.39 amps, so I was pretty happy with that results. So yeah, alrighty. After a couple of days, I wasn't that I was unhappy, but I wondered what would happen if we'd have kept going. So on the 26th of the 2nd, we did another test. So I'm not going to go through all these numbers again. I'll just give you three examples. So on the 25th of the 2nd, we had the fully charged up. So at 7:30 the day before, we turned the charger off. So at that point, we're showing we had 13.7 in the Trek volts on the Trek monitor, 13.6 on the ITECH, 100%, 120 amp hours, nothing charging, all turned off. So the following morning, we started the test at 8:20 in the morning. So it had been resting all night. We had 13.67 on the multimeter, 13.7 and 13.7. 100%, 120 amp hours. We turned the lights on. This time we used a little bit more amps, and we started with on the Trek showing 8.9 and 9.09. I did that so I wasn't going to be up so late at night. I didn't want to be up 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning still doing this. So 121 watts. This time we set the Trek amp hour, the battery amp hours to 130 amp hours. And that brought, so hours remaining, it said we had 13.04 on the ITECH and 10 hours remaining on the Trek. So that actually narrowed that gap a little bit for us. So it was just interesting. All right, after 6 hours, we go straight, jump to 6. The multimeter was showing we had 13.08 in the battery. The Trek was showing 12.8. The ITECH 12.9 volts. 55% left, 66.3 amp hours. We're now using 8.7 amps and 8.79 on the ITECH and 114 watts. Time remaining on the ITECH 7 hours and 32 minutes, and on the Trek 5 hours. So about 2.5 hours difference there. We're having the having the Trek set to 130 amp hours on the battery. Alrighty. Moving right ahead. We're gonna move right ahead here. We're gonna go up to we'll go to 8:20 at night. That should do it. 8:20 at night. We've got 12.87 on the multimeter volts, 12.7 on the Trek, 12.7 on the ITECH, 11% left, 14.3 amp hours. We're now using 8.5 amps on the Trek and 8.59 on the ITECH monitor. 109 watts. We've got 1 hour and 40 minutes to go. And again, I changed the settings on the Trek amp hours, so we've now buggered that up for the rest of this one. So yeah, again, we'll talk a little bit more about him a bit later. All right, so now we're going to go to, I'm going to give you 2 more out of this test because I think it's probably, yeah, a good thing to give you the 2. At 10:20, after 14 hours, the multimeter now was showing 12.6, the Trek was showing 12.5, and the ITECH was showing 12.5 volts. We now had 0% left, 0 amp hours left, we're now using 8.2 amps and 8.29 on the Itechworld monitor. Pardon me. 104 watts. We have 0 hours remaining. So at that point, we weren't yet at, I think we'd just gone over 120 amps, but I was gonna keep going. I thought we'll just keep going. We'll take it down to 12 volts. That's what I was thinking in my mind. So that's what we did. So at 11:20, after 15 hours, we had 12.14 on the multimeter, 11.9 on the Trek. We were down to 12 volts on the ITECH, with 0% again on 0 amp hours. We're now at 7.5 using on the Trek and 7.63 on the ITECH, 92 watts, and again 0 hours remaining. So once it got to 0 on that on the ITECH monitor, we ran completely for another hour, and at that point it was dropping off quite quickly. If you see, we went from 12.5 the hour before now to 12. So now the battery is starting to drop off the cliff. So I imagine if we went another hour, we may well have got down towards 11. So yeah, so that all worked out pretty good. Okay, so total amp hours used, again, we used them from the bottom of the hour so as not to make the figures more than they are. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but the top figure was not used because that was 0. We started from there to the bottom. The Trek showed we used 128.5 amps. The ITECH showed we used 130.17 amp hours. So to say I was pretty happy with that is an understatement. I can't believe we actually went over it, and yeah, 130.17 amp hours. We put that on charge again at 11:23. It said we're putting 18.8 in, 231, 6 hours and 22 minutes to charge it. We came back in the morning. Once again, everything's floating. It's all fully charged and all went well. So that was test number 2. Very, very good. Very, very happy at that point. So that was fine. We've been charging off the caravan's been plugged in, and we're charging off the 240 volt. So now we wanted to, I thought we'll do some tests. We're going away in a couple of days, so we'll do some further testing without using the charger anymore, without using the 240 volt charger anymore. So just before we went away, we turned the charger off for a couple of days before we went, and ran the battery down to 69%, 83.1 amp hours left in it. And the reason I did that is I wanted to see what would happen with the smart alternator charging. We knew we had a 4-hour drive on our hands, or roughly about 4 hours. So we wanted to see how that would all go on that. So yeah, so we ran it down to 69%, 83.1 amp hours. Okay, at that point we had the Trek set now at 140 amp hours, and running it down like that and testing all the way down, we now brought it within half an hour. We brought it within half an hour. The ITECH was showing 20.3 hours left, 20.5 hours left, and the Trek was showing 20 hours left. So we've now come down with that Trek setting for the amp hours to getting it pretty close to being the same. So, all right, trip to North Haven. This was a fail. This was a definite fail. We don't have a DC to DC charger. It just didn't go well really at all. So when we hooked it up to the car, not hooked up to the car, we had 68%, 81.6 amp hours left. Yeah. So we hooked it up and we're ready to leave. And as I said, we had 68%, 81.6 amp hours. The car was putting in 7.2 amps on the Trek and the ITEC it was putting in 7 amps, 92 watts, was saying it was going to take 5 hours and 28 minutes to charge. So I thought, well, that's not too bad. We don't have a DC to DC charger. We're on so it'll charge it up. So we left at 127. At 2:45, we stopped to check the progress. At that point, we'd been going for an hour and a bit over an hour, hour and 13 minutes. The auxiliary was saying it was putting 4.70, so that had gone down quite dramatically. The Trek was saying 4.5 amps going in, the ITEC 4.95 going in, 65 watts, hours remaining, 6 hours and 47 minutes, and the Trek was saying just charging. So yeah, not going too well there. So at that point we were at 72% and 86.4 amp hours, so we'd gone up 4% and 4 amp hours roughly, so not too good. Then we moved on to the rest stop at Bulahdelah. Now unplugged there at 3:25, so that was 2 hours and 3 minutes of driving time. We were up to 75%, 90.3 amp hours. We'd unplugged it there, so it wasn't charging now. Yeah, so we stopped there for half an hour. When we hooked back up and leaving Bulahdelah, again 75%, 91.1 amp hours left. The Trek showing 4.5 amps going in, and the ITEC 4.18, so not a lot going in there. 6 hours and 54 minutes to fully charge it. Arriving at North Haven, we had unhooked. When we arrived at North Haven, we only got to 78% after 3 hours and 9 minutes. 78%, 94%. So yeah, not too good. I thought we could, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. At 6:08 that night, we're unhooked. We're all set up. Everything's still off. We had 13.3 volts on the Trek screen, 13.2 on the ITEC screen, 78%, remaining 94.2. So we were using a little bit then, but we only just had a light or two on, not much. So yeah, we're still showing 99.59 hours, more than that available, 199 hours remaining. So yeah, so that was a poor result. So we thought we'd do a little bit better than that. And I will say, since then we have fitted the BM Pro Mini Boost Pro. Now we went with that because it goes with the ITEC system. We've mounted in there with that system, and it just because it was the same brand, we didn't want any dramas. We know they go together, so we did that. And I recently went out there and tested it the other day, and we definitely have 20 amps going in at the moment. That can take solar. It's not hooked up at the moment, and when we hook the solar up, we should be able to put 30 amps in, so when we're traveling. So yeah, looking forward to that, and that should be a much better result for us when we go to do that. But certainly even seeing 20 amps going in was nice, so certainly cuts down that charge time. So that was the trip to North Haven. Okay, North Haven itself, the week. Look, I'm not going to go too much into this at all. Pretty much after we did charge the battery that night on 240 volt. We put it on for an hour and charged at 240. I didn't want that bad result reflecting on the whole week, and we knew we had a couple of grey days coming, so yeah, we did that. So throughout the week at North Haven, we monitored in the morning and at night, and it went very well. We only had, we started off, the first 2 days were greys, and we have 2 solar panels, one on the roof and one plugged into the folding one plugged into the side. So we managed to charge the batteries up each day with them, and after the 3rd day, it was going to be sunny for the rest of the week. We put the folding one away, and we just used the 160 watt one off the roof. So the power was totally turned off all week, except for we ran the fridge on 240 volt. and the hot water on 240 volt, because they're the things we normally would have had gas. But we did fill our tanks and use our pumps, 12 volt pumps, and everything else was 12 volts. So, and just turn the charger off in the cupboard so that we were getting an accurate test at how it would go. So during the week, the lowest the battery got to was in the morning, was 76%, 92.3, and if we look at that one, that was at 7:36. Now we didn't test them every hour on that day. Obviously we were going coming and going. At 12:07, 12:30, yeah, in the afternoon, it was fully charged, 100%, no problems, just off the one solar panel. But prior to that, let's just go up to the one before, 12:37. We were getting 8.1 off that solar panel. We're putting in 7.5 off the Trek amps, 7.72 off the Itechworld, 103 watts, 1 hour and 9 minutes to go to be fully charged. So, and the Trek, when you charge it, doesn't show, it just says charging, so you can't really see that. So yeah, there were no problems during the week. Same scenario on Dame 7, one solar panel. In the afternoon, we were fully charged, 100%, no problems whatsoever. So, yeah, we didn't, obviously we're not running our air conditioner and inverters and stuff like that at that point. So that'll be the big test later on when we got the second battery connected and we start doing other things, how that'll all pan out and work out for us. But just generally, you know, we could have stayed off grid, no problems at all, and used everything we wanted to use, and until we run out of water, I guess. So yeah. All right, so we came home then, and this is what I wanted to do when I got home, was not hook up to battery power. I mean to the 240 volt. So we didn't hook up to the 240 volt, and we've been home 3 or 4 days, and I wanted to just test what would happen. Sheerly charged off the solar, nothing else. But the caravan was plugged into the solar off the top of the carport. Now it's just a tiny panel, keep it just float. So we turned that off in the evening on the 14th of the 3rd. So there was no power going in. At that point, the Trek was saying we had 13.4 in it. The ITECH 13.3 was showing we had 99% left, 119 amp hours. So we came in the following morning at 6 o'clock, turned all the lights on. This time we used about 7.5 amps, depending on which one we're using it. We turned it on and away we went. So at 7 in the morning, say, we were down to 93%, 112 amp hours. We're showing, now this is set at 140 amp hours in the Trek screen. We're showing on the ITECH we had 14.53 to go and 14 hours on the Trek screen. So a bit closer, set at 140 amp hours. Coming down through the day, we'll come down to, let's say, 12 hours. 12 hours, we were down to 12.8 in the Trek, 12.9 in the ITECH, 26%, 31.4 amp hours. We're now down to 7.1 amps using on the Trek, 7.14 on the ITECH, 92 watts. And same, we had 4 hours and 24 minutes left on the ITECH and 4 hours on the Trek. So by setting that at 140, these were getting much closer together now. So okay, we'll go right now down to 10 o'clock at night, 16 hours. We've got showing 12.5 now in the Trek and 12.6 in the ITECH. We had 2% left in the ITECH monitor, 3.39 amp hours. We're using 6.7 amps in the Trek, 6.78 in the ITECH, 85 watts. We've got 30 minutes left in the ITECH screen and showing 86 on the Trek. At 11 o'clock, 17 hours, we're down to 12.4 volts on the Trek, 12.6 on the ITEC, 0% left in amp hours, 0% in the percentage. We're using 6.6 on the Trek screen, 6.7, 84 watts. ITEC now showing 0 minutes left, and the Trek is now still showing 45 minutes. Now at that point, I'd actually put most of the figures in from the hour before. I knew what we needed to do. I just was looking to make sure we went past 122 hours. So once more, we turned the power on and started to charge the batteries off the power, 240 volt. So we did that. We're putting 20 amps in, and it showed at 5.56 hours to full charge time, and came back in the morning and again back at full charge flow. Now for that 17 hours using those amps, the Trek showed we got 120.6 and the ITEC showed we got 122.47. Now I'm just going to note there that on the ITEC was showing we still had 12.6. Now in a previous test we did, let's see, grab that one, not that one. In a previous test you might note that we got another hour after we went from 12.5 down to 12. So I think we probably could have gone another hour, which would have given us another 6.6 amps. So we would have been again up around the 128 amps. But it's 11 o'clock at night. We'd passed the 120 mark, so I was pretty happy. So that's it. To put it in a nutshell, it definitely gets 120 amp hours. There is no question about it. And yeah, it wasn't even that we were going to run down and get close to being cut off. It just wasn't going to happen. So yeah, did absolutely great. We did do a test that's setting the Trek at 150 amp hours, and when we tested that and we went for 10 hours off that, the ITEC was showing 10 hours and 18 minutes left, and the Trek was showing 11. So we actually went back, I think, setting it at the 140 amp hours for just having the 120 amp battery in there worked pretty well, and about was pretty right. So yeah, that was just so a couple of people asked about that. Gleno mentioned it in one of the comments, and Sep from Sep's Adventures also was very interested in how that comparison went. So Sep's got a YouTube channel. If you haven't seen his channel, he does a lot of caravan park reviews. Excellent channel. I love watching his reviews. He'd walk around the caravan parks. So yeah, yeah, go over there and have a look at his channel. Very good. So that to do that comparison. Hope that answers those questions. The maximum solar we saw out of the roof when we were up at North Haven was 8.5 amps. The folding give it 7. The maximum we saw going in was 14.7, and that we turned everything on to try and bump it up and get it pumping in, and so that's what we saw. So that covers off on that. Alrighty, I just wanted to cover off also when people were asking some questions about the monitor, and so I'm thinking they were thinking they didn't have to buy the shunt and monitor and stuff like that. I'm gonna say I love that screen, and together with the Trek screen, and I did manage to mount them right side by one above the other up there, and I'll tell you how I did that in just a second. But this screen was so good. It's got for the $100, I would buy it. The amp hours, it's good to see them amp hours. It's good to see the percentage. Just as a quick glance, 80%. You don't have to look at all the rest. You just know it's all good. It's just good information. It's good to see them amp hours. It's good to see the watts. The Trek doesn't show you the watts. So it's just got a bit more information that's not shown on the Trek screen, and that's great. And one particular I like is when you're charging it, and it'll tell you how many amps the solar's putting in, and it'll tell you how long to charge it at the rate the solar's putting in. So if you knew it was, I find that might be quite handy if you're out and there's sunshine in the morning and it's saying you got 3 hours to charge time, but you know there's going to be grey skies in 2 hours time. Maybe you could pull your folding panel out and plug it in, or there's still something you could do to try and get that charging quicker before the grey skies arrive. So it's where the trick just says it's charging. It doesn't give you hours. So I really I recommend putting that in. I found it to be great to have the two screens side by side and to be able to look at the comparison between the two of them. Just more information. So that was really good. All right. As I said, this is my second one. So the other one is still fitted outside. Since then, I am very happy, and I have bought another one. Now, this one is going to be going under the seat. It's actually going under this seat I'm sitting on. Now, I had a gentleman send me a comment, and that comment was about some new rules, and so I'm just going to mention this so everybody, in case you're not aware. Some new rules, and I've wrote that on a bit of paper, that number here somewhere, that came out in November 22, but they came into force by November 23. If you're upgrading to lithium or changing it, and it's Australian Standard 3001 wiring rules. If you search caravan lithium rules, you should get something on YouTube. You should get something come up there. And what it talks about is lithium batteries installed in your caravan now need to be in an enclosed and vented compartment in the car, in the van. So the one outside's all right, but the one inside, where I'm going to put it, I have to have a rethink about it. And when he sent that comment, I was a bit, but thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I can vent it, and there certainly won't be any problems closing it in. So, but just something to keep in mind. There are new rules. You've got to have warning labels. There's a couple other rules there. I can't remember them all. But yeah, Australian Standard 3001 wiring rules. If you search caravan lithium rules, you should get something up. And he did put a link, and I watched that link, but he's since taken that down. I was going to, and I had a look for it. I couldn't find it. I would have put it in the comments, and you could have had a look at that. But if you search that, you should come up with it. So they came into force in November 23. So if you're looking to upgrade your system, change your system, put more batteries inside or something like that, there are some new rules that you have to be aware of now. So, and I wasn't aware of them, so I thank that person for its comment. So very good. Alrighty, not much to talk about on that. That's all good. All right, so I have no association with Itechworld, but there is March Madness, and that's why I've already bought my second one, and I bought my inverter as well. There's some quite good sales on at the moment, and I saved some quite good money by them now. One thing I did do when they bought my first one is they sent me a promotion pack. So ask for a promotion pack if you're ordering a battery, a hat. I've worn it a couple of times, and keyring and some stickers that come with it. So you might as well get the free hat. Doesn't hurt to ask anyway. We pay enough for the batteries and everything else, so why not? But yeah, there's some good deals at the moment, so you might want to look at that and take some advantage if you're thinking of doing it. Alrighty, I think we're going to leave it at that. The one thing I was going to do, so when you saw me do the setup before and I had the monitor, I just brought the monitor up inside. And the reason I did that day was I wasn't sure how we were going to get it to where I wanted it. And what I did find is on the back of the Trek, which is set right up on the top of the cupboards there, and you'll see where they're set in some pictures that I put up. I wasn't sure how I was going to get that up there. But what I did find when I had a look in there, there's a cavity where the monitor goes in, is the tank monitoring cables are there, and they have about 2 meters of extra cord. So I was able to, and they came up from the bottom, so I was able to get under there, untangle it up the top, and pull down 1.5 meters of cord to the bottom. I taped my the monitor cable to it, and then pulled it up through the wall. So I was very, very happy about that, because I was thinking I was going to have to put it over there, and I really don't like having bits and pieces everywhere. I really wanted it in one place, and as you'll see on some of the photos I put up, they are in the one place. You can quickly take everything in one go. So yeah, that was able to get it up because there was lots of the tank monitoring wires there, so able to do it that way. All right, I'm going to leave it at that for this episode. I hope you got something out of that. I know there's a lot of boring stuff to get through there, numbers and facts and everything, and I've actually been procrastinating a few days about doing this one. But I forced myself to get out here this morning and talk about it and go through all them numbers. Because to all those people who subscribed and watched this video, I felt like I owed it to you to give you the results, and very, very, very happy. So we'll get this one installed in a sealed area that's vented. We'll put a warning label on it and whatever else we need to do, and we'll be up to 240 amp hours there. Hopefully we can run our, well, I know we can run our air conditioner off the inverter. So looking forward to getting all that done. So thanks very much for watching. I hope that's been helpful. We'll see you in the next video.